Hello everyone. Today let's solve the problem number 229, majority element 2. We have already solved the majority element 1, right? So it will be easier to understand for us, right? So I'll just read out the question aloud. Then let's understand the question first and followed by the approach and complexities, and then let's write the code. So what the question states here, just give me a second. So here uh, we are given an integer array nums of size n. You can clearly see here, right? So we are given an integer array of size n, and we have to find all the elements that appear more than l by 3 times. So here what we need to do, we have to find all the elements that appear more than n by 3 times. So we need to return the result as list of integers. This is very important. We need to return the this one, what do you call, the result as list of integers. So this one we have to keep in mind. I hope the question part is completely clear. When they are saying we have to find all the elements that appear n by 3 times means here, so first we need to count the length. Here we have three numbers, right? So the length will be quite obviously 3. Appear more than 3, n by 3 means this will be 3 by 3. Quite obviously here in this case 3 by 3 is 1, right? Sorry, not this one. 3 by 3 is 1. So this is fine. 1 we have here means the elements that are present in the array more than once, right? More than once we have to uh, display that one. So here in this case 3 is the only element that appears more than once, right? So here in this case it will be 3, right? Here in the second example we have 1, so length will be 1 by 3. This will be it will be point something basically, so which appears more than point something this one time. So the output will be quite obviously 1 itself. Only one element is present right here. So we have here 1 comma 2, right? So the length will be quite obviously 2, and this will be this one 3. N by 3 means 2 by 3 here in this case. 2 by 3 will lead to something 0 point something as well, right? So here these two numbers we need to, these two numbers, right? So this will appear mm more than 0.75, this one times basically these two elements here in this case. This will be 1.2, it's 1 comma 2 both here in this case. This will be 1 comma 2, this will be 1, and this will be 3, right? This appears more than once. More than once means only 3 is appearing twice here in this case. So I hope the question part is completely clear. They have given us wonderful examples just for the sake of understanding, right? So next what shall we do? Let's do one thing. Let's discuss the approach and followed by the complexities as well within the approach, and then let's write the code. Initially let's discuss the approach first. I have considered the same first example that they have given in the question. So nums we have 3 to 3 here. This one I'm speaking of. Nums we have 3 to 3, and the output that we have here is 3, and the output that we have here is 3, right? So because this will be n by 3, we have to calculate first. Length is 3 here, so 3 by 3 this would be 1. We have already discussed this one. So appear the element which appears more than once in the nums array is 3, so we need to return output as 3 within the array. This is fine, and let's go with a step-by-step explanation here. So here we have already discussed this one, this part, and so we want the elements that is appearing more than one time or once, right? So here let's create, first step is let's create the hash map to count the frequencies. And one more thing, I forgot to say this, we'll be making use of the hash map approach here. So just keep this in mind, we'll be making use of the hash map approach. So first let's create the hash map to count the frequencies. So we have here 3, this one 3 as key, and frequency will be 2 because 3 is appearing twice here. We will be having 2 as key, and it is appearing only once. See here, 3 which is appearing twice, 2 which is appearing once, right? So this is fine. So the next part is we have to check which keys we have. So here in this case we'll check which are the keys which have the frequency greater than 1, right? So here we got 1. So for this purpose what we'll do, we will check which keys have frequency greater than 1. In this case only 3 satisfies, right? So we will return the 3 as output. So the output that we got here is 3, which is equivalent to the output that they have given for the first example in the question. So the approach works absolutely correct in this case, right? So as the approach works absolutely correct, let's move on with the complexities part here quickly. So here the time complexity for the code that we'll be writing is will be big of n. Why it is big of n, or why it will be big of n? Basically because we'll be making use of the one pass for counting and one pass for collecting the result. So quite obviously the overall time complexity will be big O of n, and the space complexity would be big O of n as well, because we are making use of the hash map. And in the worst case, all the elements are unique in the hash map, so we have to store all the elements, right, in the worst case. So the space complexity would be quite obviously big O of n as well. So the time complexity and the space complexity for the code that we'll be writing will be big of n. I hope the complexities part is completely clear along with the approach, right? As we are completely familiar with the approach along with the complexities, so let's start writing the code. So let's start writing the code. So the first step here is, as I have said, we'll be making use of the this one, what do you call, hash map. So also we'll be making use of the array list, right? So uh, let's create the list to store the final this one final result. So I'll be going with the list here. This is fine. Within the list, what I'll do, I'll just give integer. This is fine. So let me make use of the variable result here. This is fine. This is equal to, let's create the new array list. So this is fine. The next step here is, let's make use of the hash map by we have to store the frequency of each element somewhere, right? So let's make use of the map here. In this case, it will be um, integer comma integer. This is fine. So let's create the hash map. This will be hash map. This is fine. So after creating the hash map, what shall we do? This is the first step. If you remember the approach correctly, we have to count the frequency of each element according to the approach, right? So here I'll be making use of the simple for loop. This will be int num of the nums array, individual number of the num. So as we need to count the frequency, I'll just be making use of this one put here, put property. So this will be num comma this will be frequency dot get or default. This is fine, get or default. So this will be num comma 0, right, plus 1, quite obviously. So this is fine. Let me come out of this for loop entirely. So let's move on with the next step. So threshold, whatever the threshold that they have given in the question is n by 3, means length by 3 in the question, if you remember. So let's initialize, or let's assign the threshold to length of the nums by 3. So here I'll give so int, this will be threshold equals length of the nums, this one by 3. This is fine. So let's move on with the next step, the third step or the final step. So here we have to add the elements whose count is greater than the threshold to the result. In the example that we considered, we got 1, so the frequency had to be greater than 1, right? So we returned 3 for the first example that we considered, if you remember the approach, right? That's the same thing. I mean, the same thing that we need to articulate in the form of code. So let's articulate the same thing in the form of code quickly. Here this will be map dot, this one will be entry within the uh, angle brackets. Let me give integer. This is fine, and one more integer. This is fine as well. Integer comma integer, right? So this one will be integer. This is fine. Let me make use of the entry. This is of the set frequency dot entry set. This is fine. So within the for loop, what shall I do? Let's write the simple if condition here. This will be entry dot get value. So this one is greater than threshold. Then within the if condition, let's add this one to the result by making use of the add property. So I'll just go with let's pass the, we have to get the key, right? So I'll just be making use of the get key within the add property. So I hope this is clear. So what we are doing here, from the line number 13 to 15, so we are just adding the elements whose count is greater than the threshold to the result, right? So this is fine. So let's come to the last part here. We have to return the result list, nothing but here in this case I'll just give return result. So this is it for the code. Let me format the code once and let me hit the run button. I hope this works. Let's see. We have the compile error here. What happened? Line number 5, error. This one, oh, we have not uh, given any variable name here, right? So this has to be frequency. Sorry, here we are counting the this one, right? Frequency. This is fine. Again, this is case sensitive Java. This has to be capital K in the line number 15. Let me do one thing. So get key. Yeah, this is fine. Let me run this one again. I hope this works now. Let's see. Yeah, now we can clearly see the sample test cases are getting passed. So let me hit the submit button quickly. So yeah, you can clearly see here all the test cases are getting passed. Means the code works absolutely correct in this case. Whatever the code that we have written works absolutely correct in this case, right? So I hope the solution part is completely clear along with the approach and this one complexities, right? So this is it for now. Thanks for watching, guys.